What's new in CloudBees CI 2.504.2.5? On May 28, 2025, CloudBees CI 2.504.2.5 was released. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at all the changes that occurred within that release. Also on May 28th, Jenkins LTS 2.504.2 was released. On May 29th, I did a video with Mark Waite talking about all of those changes. The link to that video is down in the description. Now, if you've never taken a look at the release notes for CloudBees CI before, let me show you how to get there. We're going to start at docs.cloudbees.com. Under the documentation tab, we're going to go down to CloudBees CI, and then the documentation drop-down on the left nav, we're going to click on Release Notes. And now we're on the page that has all of the release notes for CloudBees CI. Now, before we take a look at the release notes, I want to call out this important block. If you skip versions when you upgrade, refer to previous versions of the release notes for any relevant known issues or upgrade notes. What does that mean? Again, the current version is 2.504.2.5. Let's say we're upgrading from a version that's a few versions old. Let's say it's 2.492.2.3. I would want to go through and take a look at the release notes for every version between 2.492.2.3 all the way back to the version that I'm going to be installing. As a CloudBees CI client, we recommend an assisted update to help make the update process easier. There is a link down in the description about how to get help with an assisted update. Now, with this release for 2.504.2.5, we can see that there's a security release. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Also, you'll notice a handful of big red boxes. We'll look at those details in just a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to start for the release notes for traditional platforms, and then we'll go over and take a look at the differences for modern cloud platforms. So if we click into full release notes for traditional platforms, we have a security advisory. If we go ahead and click into that, what we're going to see is there were a couple of plugins that are included with CloudBees CI that had some security vulnerabilities. These have been resolved with this release. You can go in and read the details for both of these issues. Let's go ahead and go back over into our release notes. And at the top, we have our upgrade notes. We were talking about the big red boxes. Well, that's what we're going to take a look at. First off, we have an end-of-life announcement for the CloudBees Amazon AWS CLI. What's going to be happening after December of 2025, the CloudBees AWS CLI plugin will no longer work. Why is that? The APIs that are used within this plugin at AWS are being terminated as well. And this plugin is going to go ahead and end of life along with the termination of those AWS APIs. If you go ahead and read through the rest of this block, it will give you some options about how to get ready for this plugin coming to end of life. The next three boxes are around working with the API. There have been changes to some of the APIs within CloudBees CI if you're using the CLI tool to interact with your controllers or the operations center. So if you're not working directly with the APIs within CloudBees CI, you're going to be fine. However, if you're using the CLI tool from within CloudBees CI, you want to check these out and make any changes that are necessary for your environment. Finally, in the upgrade notes, one thing that's going to be happening in the next release, in the June 2025 release, again, this release is 2.504.2.5. The numbering is going to change in that fourth position. So the .5 in this case is now going to be coming into a 4-digit number. So again, nothing new. It's just a changing of our versioning. The base version, 2.504.3, will be the June version, and then it will be some set of numbers that occur after that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the release notes. There were no new features for this version. There were a handful of feature enhancements. I want to call out two in particular. First off, if you're using high availability for CloudBees CI, what will happen now is pages that are incompatible with high availability will now display a banner to indicate that the information shown might not be accurate. So prior to this, pages just showed what they showed, whether they were correct or not. Now, if there's an incompatibility, you're going to see a banner saying, hey, this data may be inaccurate. The other item that I want to call out inside of feature enhancements is the administrative monitor for plugin state changes. If we take a look at the description, there's now an administrative monitor that's been introduced to track plugin state changes within CloudBees CI. If you think about it from a high availability standpoint, you may have numerous replicas running for that controller, and that plugin may not be updated on all of those replicas. Well, now this monitor is going to prompt you to restart the controller. Remember, especially in an HA situation, you've got multiple replicas, so you're going to want all of that to restart to make sure you have the right version of the plugin in place. This administrative monitor is going to help you make sure that restart happens when it needs to restart. If we go down into the resolved issues, there were numerous high availability fixes, also numerous cask fixes, configuration as code, and a couple of fixes for CloudBees Pipeline Explorer. Let's go ahead and go over into our release notes for modern cloud platforms. And what we're going to see for this, we'll go down into feature enhancements and call out a couple of specific items for modern cloud platforms. The first one we're going to take a look at is the pod disruption budget associated with HA managed controllers can now be customized. So there's now advanced YAML fields to alter the aspects of pod disruption budgets generated for a high availability managed controller. There's a link off here to the documentation about how to set this up. If we scroll down a little bit more, we're going to see high availability controller maximum surge during roll and restart. Previously, an HA controller used a deployment with a default max surge of 25%. What this meant was only one replica could restart at a time. Other replicas would wait to acquire the startup lock. So now the max surge value is set to 1. There's more documentation about how to set max surge and max unavailable if you need to make those changes. Finally, I want to go ahead and go down to the bottom where we have the item fine-tune cask controller bundle service for Kubernetes setup. So now we can fine-tune some of the specific Kubernetes properties such as image pull secrets, node selector tolerations, and annotations. Follow the documentation link here in this item to understand how to set those values up. And finally, in resolved issues, I have one item that I want to show that is specific to modern cloud platforms. And if we take a look right now here at the agent's separate namespace enabled true, all agents are installed to the same namespace. So in the past, this did not work well, setting it to true when you wanted managed controllers in another namespace or cluster. So what was happening is all the agents were redirected into a single namespace regardless of the controller location. Now each managed controller namespace gets its own corresponding agent namespace. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on X at CloudBees. If this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.